Good day, everyone. My name is Ernest Custodio. I'm here to talk to you about using Scrum of Scale and in particular team structure in a large distributed enterprise. The client in this case was a technical service company, a very large enterprise with about 74,000 employees distributed worldwide. The scope of this particular case study included 80 team members and 7 Scrum teams. The teams were highly distributed, working with 2 particular solutions and using 7 tools in a portfolio that the client was benefiting from. The objective was to create a single portal so that we could unify what had become legacy tools for the client. In order to do that, we had to deal with the team structure and how we organize the team in a way to provide that level of consolidation. The graph that you see here, or the team structure, is complex, and that's on purpose. I'll walk you through that. That's because it was a complex environment where many of the stakeholders were sitting in California. We have product owners in Texas. We had them in Florida and throughout the US. And much of the development team was sitting in India, in particular in Bangalore, and some in Chennai. Some tools did not have a product owner, and other tools did. Some of them were directly connecting with the customer or the sponsors. So there was little inconsistency across the different teams that we were trying to work on this solution. The pros were that, well, the teams had high autonomy, and that brought about a lot of flexibility that allowed them to respond quickly to change and urgent issues. But the cons were many. The teams did not have a single backlog, which had a significant amount of inconsistency in the goals that they were trying to achieve. There was a lack of product ownership. There were low visibility into the development process, silo budgeting, and on and on and on. The outcome of that was that the team had a low level of productivity with an average of about 15 points of velocity, about a 6-month lead time, and 9% defect rate. That's a high defect rate. And the backlogs, when aggregated, were pretty large, about 900 at any given point as far as product backlog items. What we did to address that, we began to consolidate the product owners and created a chief product owner role. And we consolidated the teams in Bangalore under a single manager for each of the solutions. The team in Chennai, we kept on touch because they had prior knowledge that we needed to benefit from while we made the transition. And the stakeholders remained in California. There was still some distribution within the US as far as the product ownership. Service 1 automatically saw some benefit. We saw duplication of velocity. We saw an increase in the delivery rate, and we saw a drop in the defect rate. Service 2, however, we saw the reverse. We actually dropped the productivity down to 0. And the value delivery, because of that reason, was none. So what was happening here? Well, the 2 teams were acting in separate ways. The team that was not delivering Service 2, they were experiencing command and control. They still did not have the freedom to perform their Scrum events in a proper manner. And they were focusing on architectural excellence or engineering initiatives more so than client-driven development or client-benefiting development. So we had to pivot in order to address that. And what we did was we consolidated the product owners into the chief product owner, having control and owning the product backlog for both services. And we co-located the product owner for the respective teams in their particular locations. That immediately brought about some benefits. We created a Scrum of Scrum for those teams. We made smaller teams so that the teams were of the ideal size of 5 members, which had proven to be an efficient or size to bring about efficiency. And we also began to have SDS, or a scaled daily scrum, which allowed the 2 services to interact and connect. And that brought about significant benefits. What we saw was a 3x increase in productivity on average for both services. We saw a drop from 6 months down to 1 month in terms of the lead time. We saw a 3 times reduction in the defect rate, and the product backlog, which had been in about 900 product backlog items, dropped to about 90 by the fact that it was consolidated and it was consistently refined by the respective owners. So the lessons here, we had an SOS, Scrum of Scrum, that significantly helped. We should have started that earlier in retrospective. The pivot allowed us to learn from those lessons and implement those changes. We added a Meta Scrum. We should have done that earlier as well. The Meta Scrum, where the product owners were consolidated and owned that product backlog, was significant in allowing the teams to have the proper product backlog items to work on. And we should have addressed the management intervention that were keeping the teams from executing Scrum properly and self-organizing. In the future, some potential future improvements include adding an executive action team so that other teams can be included into this method and begin to benefit from it as well. All right? Any questions?
Thank you, Ernesto. Question for you. I really like having the product owners co-located, for example, in Bangalore. What was that transition like? Did someone actually physically go there, or did you have to mentor somebody over time to grow those skills?
Yeah, so we had a lot of, first we had seeding, which was for us to create that social capital and just be together so that everyone can get to know the team and work together remotely in effective ways. And then we have visitations. We had those on a periodic basis, once a quarter. I should mention this was over a period of about a year and a half. And during that time, the teams in Bangalore began to mature more and more into their Agile processes over time. It took some coaching, some learning experiences, some pollination of knowledge for those that were strong, and some rearrangements, but over time they matured into running effectively. Yeah.
How did you deal with the gold plating? So over-architecting.
That was a tough problem. That was the problem we had to solve in Service 2. Because the team felt that they needed a perfect architecture in order to get started in delivering customer value. The minute we had a co-located product owner that represented the client and their needs and began to prioritize and began to really communicate the need to have client delivery to the team, they began to understand why it was important to have a little bit of both as they went.